Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Always Arsenal show. My number two for me. Oh, so I just want to say a big thank you to everyone that watched last week, watched in the week, commented, supported me, tweeted me. Honestly, I have never been so nervous. I'm a little bit nervous tonight, but that's why I chose a friend to come and sit with me and have a chat with you all. Welcome, Mr. Alan Smudger Smith, to the show.
Hi, Amanda. Lovely to see you. Nice to be here.
Wow. Well, we were talking off air, weren't we, about last night and everything. So let's get down to it. You were commentating for Sky, weren't you?
I was. Yeah.
L-
Yeah,
Come on,
it
give
was.
us your opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I was hoping for a little bit more, kind of a real cup tie contest atmosphere as well, because there wasn't much of an atmosphere at times. I don't think the
Yeah.
fans had too much to get the teeth into. After that 0-0 draw up at Anfield, with 10 men, I thought, oh, here we go. But I think there were extenuating circumstances with certain players not being fully fit, and it showed, didn't it? And we couldn't really lay too many punches on Liverpool, who, let's face it, we know they're a very, very good side, even if they've got a few players out. And they showed it last night. Defensively, they were so solid, and we struggled to create chances. And that's not something that we normally do struggle with Odegaard and Smith Rowe in the team. I thought the boys had to be at 100%, reach the levels, approaching the levels they did against Manchester City. And unfortunately, they couldn't get anywhere near those levels. And Liverpool, in the end, kind of coasted through, didn't they? And I thought that was the disappointing aspect, because it's a semi-final. There's the chance of getting to Wembley, and Arsenal couldn't really make. I'm not saying they didn't fight for it, but they couldn't make a proper contest of it. They couldn't make Liverpool worry about things, really, apart from the first 10 minutes, 15, when they started really well. After that, they struggled, didn't they? And that was the disappointing aspect of it.
Very disappointing. But I felt that three or four of our players were really not match fit. You could tell. I mean, Arteta said 3 of them didn't train. And the injuries are killing us. Obviously, Odegaard had COVID, and we just won at our best. And I kept, as I said to you, Al, I couldn't get a ticket for last night in the end, but I kept thinking to myself, we need a striker. We need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. We're making chances, but they're just not converting them.
No. We're in strange times, though, aren't we, with COVID, and players are coming back. And I think Arteta mentioned it. Some of them had 1 day's training, and like Tomiyasu's been out for a couple of weeks, and he's been so good, hasn't he, since arriving at the club? And you could see he wasn't back to it, and he got nutmegged for the first goal by Jota. He struggled a bit, and Smith Rowe did as well. And it's easy to make judgments looking at that 90 minutes. Oh, he didn't play well. He couldn't get about. But we don't know how these particular players are feeling, do we? You can have COVID and not have many symptoms, but when you start running again, the lungs aren't quite working how they used to. So strange territory. But it was a disappointment not to get through. But now it's the whole one who've got to concentrate on that league and try and get 4th spot.
Yeah, I know. It's become like the trophy again now, hasn't it? So wanted to go to Wembley with, ESR and Saka and Martinelli and Lacazette. They've all worked so hard, but midfield is becoming a problem. And let's talk about Thomas Partey. Do you know what? Before he got the first yellow card, which I'd like to talk to you about, because I don't think it was a yellow card, the first one, I felt so proud of him that he got off the plane, got to the players' hotel, said to Arteta, I want to play, and wanted to do that for the team. Yeah. And then it's so Arsenal. Honestly, I don't know what it is about us at the moment, but what player comes off the plane, comes on a sub, 2 yellow cards, he's off?
Well, I mean, Arteta mentioned it before, and he was really pleased about Partey's attitude, as you say, Amanda. But and he was obviously concerned about his fitness. He started him on the bench, didn't know how long he could give him. I agree with you. The first one, I thought he was a little bit unlucky to get booked for that. It's just, he's just jabbed towards the ball and he's fraction of a second out. He's caught the player. I thought he was a bit unlucky. The second one was stupid, absolutely
God, yeah.
stupid to dive in like that when you've just been booked. But I said it in commentary. I thought it was like a tired challenge. Sometimes when you're not fully at it and you can't get to the ball and you start lunging for it. But I mean, we put up a stat of Arsenal's red cards since Arteta's taken over, and we're miles ahead of anybody else. And you think, how has that happened? I mean, I know Jacques has contributed to it a little bit, but you look at the Arsenal team and you think, well, they're not a dirty side, but there's a lack of discipline at times there, and there certainly was last night. I just don't think he was thinking straight. Just trying to do his best to contribute to the team, but I mean, this record of red cards, it can't go on. They've got to try and address it because it's leaving us in a corner, isn't it?
Well, it does. And I'm not one of these that follow the sheep, Alan. The way I tweet, the way I am as a fan, I don't go with the crowd. But I do feel there is a slight agenda with referees with us. I'm not being like a biased Arsenal fan here. I've watched them for many years. I would just say lately, where Xhaka will get a red card, someone will do exactly the same foul and they don't even get booked. And this is where the consistency is driving us as football fans, not only Arsenal fans, mad. Because let's just talk about something, yeah? Harry Kane, Liverpool. Liverpool played at home. Harry Kane should have got a straight red. He got a yellow. I would like to know what he got a yellow for, because it's not a yellow card. It's either nothing or a red card for me. Yeah, Robertson goes and does just as bad a tackle, straight red. Harry Kane for me, is he the golden boy? Does he get the England captain, English at Spurs? It's just the inconsistency, Al, that kills us. Xhaka does deserve a lot of the red cards. I'm not denying that. I'm not sitting here not denying that. But I just feel sometimes, Thomas Partey, yeah? Not every foul is a yellow card.
Well, I think that's the thing in general, Amanda, about football these days. You're right. Not every foul is a yellow card. And sometimes I think refs produce that yellow too readily, too quickly. Yeah, it's a foul, but play on. Yeah, free kick. Let's get on with it. Why do we have to always book players? So, listen, I think any fan supporting any team would probably say the same as you, Amanda, that they're getting unfairly treated, and I get what you're saying about Harry Kane. I do. I think that was a big mistake by the ref, but you're going to have inconsistencies because it's different days with different refs who interpret the game differently, and that's always going to happen to a certain extent. But I don't think you can get past the fact that Arsenal have had players sent off a lot more than other teams, and I don't think it's an agenda at all. I just think that's the way it's happened, and Arsenal have got to look at themselves and think, well, how can we change this? We've got to think more about the challenges that we're making.
No, I totally agree. I'm not sitting here saying it's all the ref and it's inconsistent, and we do. Xhaka needs to look at himself, absolutely. And Partey was stupid, but he came out and have you seen his statement tonight to the fans?
He's apologised, doesn't he?
Yeah, it's so lovely. Can you imagine in your day? Tony Adams coming out.
It's a bit of a fashion apologising for, oh, sorry, I missed that penalty. Sorry, I got sent off. Well, yeah, I mean, no, that's fine. That's fine as long as it's heartfelt. But the fact is, the boys the team is so short on midfielders, and now obviously Partey's not available for the weekend, and Arteta must be scratching his head thinking, what's the best way forward. I thought Odegaard did well, actually, in that deeper position. He tried to get the team going. He's been in great form, hasn't he? He's always looking to be positive. He's not what you would call a natural holding midfielder. But, I don't know whether it's going to be Lokonga and Odegaard again against Burnley. We'll wait and see. But it's not ideal, is it? Not ideal at all.
I'll be getting my boots ready, Al.
You play central midfield, Amanda.
I'll play anywhere. Graham's got a question for you. Can you ask Alan if he felt Ramsdale could have done better for both goals?
Well, the first goal was a strange one because Jota's mishit it. I do think he was gambling, anticipating to a certain extent, Ramsdale, that the ball was going to go to his left.
Yeah.
He's taken a step there. And although the ball has kind of trundled past him to a certain extent, it's not zip past him. It looks bad, but he's gone that way and the ball's gone that way. Sometimes those mishits can be the most effective. The second, I don't think so. If it had stayed back on his line, the goal's gaping. It was a brilliant finish by Jota, that second one. It really was, because Ramsdale's come out quickly, so a lot of players wouldn't have been able to have adjusted and flicked it over the keeper like that. I thought he was a little bit jumpy in the first leg, Ramsdale. You never quite knew what he was going to do. He wasn't the same last night. He's had a brilliant season. There's no getting away from it. He really has. The first one did look soft, but I think that was down to the mishit, really, and the fact it looked for all the world like
it sort of dribbled in, didn't it? The other way to where Ramsdale was, and it looked like it deflected. It didn't. It just was a mishit. It was a lucky goal. We're being unlucky at the moment. It's January. Don't remember the last time we actually won a game, but I do feel sometimes
dry January, isn't it?
Dry January.
Not yet. No,
it is for Arsenal. Thanks, Graham, for your lovely question. Just wanted to talk to you about that. Look, Aubameyang's now come back from the AFCON. Thank God he's healthy and he's well. Before he left, there was quite an uproar. Discipline, banned from the team, whatever. Do you think he can come back now and do a job? Do you think maybe he's had time away? Maybe do him good? Put him in the team?
Yeah, I think so. This is where Arteta's man management comes in. You can't discard a player of that ability, can you? Not to mention a player on the kind of money that he's on. So if you can get him on side and get a tune out of him, why wouldn't you pick him? He'll judge him on training, first of all, to see what his attitude's like, what his sharpness is like. And if he sees enough to put him in the team, I think he will. He made a strong stand, Arteta, and you never know what's going on fully behind the scenes, do you, Amanda?
No.
I think it was strong management, and it sends a message to all the other players. So I think fair play to Arteta for doing that. But he's a player. I can't see him leaving in January, and if he doesn't, you've got to try and use him, because we are lacking that finisher, somebody with pace through the middle. Lacazette, he's done really well over recent weeks. He just struggled a little bit last night. But Aubameyang, if you can get him back to even 3/4 of his best, the team can be transformed. So hopefully he'll be re-energised now, get back on board and start training properly and get that sharpness back. And if he gets a chance, he can deliver for the boys.
Okay, we got another question from Sophie, and I just want to say something about Sophie. She had a really tough time on Twitter last night. Really awful thing happened to her, and thousands have supported her because she was trolled by a disgusting human. And then Gilberto's come out, fantastic, Sophie, and wants you to be part of his new platform. This is just amazing. So big up to you, Soph. Thank you for joining us tonight. I know you got a question for Alan. It says, hi, Amanda and Alan. Alan, I would love to know what you think of Arteta. This is like the question everyone wants to know, isn't it? The answer.
I'm a fan of Arteta. I was an advocate of him getting the job in the first place. Now, we all know he's made mistakes along the way, Willian and David Luiz and all that. But he's gradually fashioning a team in his kind of image, what he wants. It's a young team, as we know. I think he's very good on the training ground. The players go out onto that pitch and they fully understand what he wants of them, which you don't see with every team in the Premier League. You can see a shape and a structure to the side. So that's encouraging. He was a man that hadn't managed before, and at such a huge club like Arsenal, you're bound to make mistakes, and he's learning as he goes. But I think the future should be bright with him in charge. I think he's a very talented coach, and when you're in charge of young players that want to learn, want to work hard, he can improve those players, I think. So, yeah, I like him.
Good. I'm glad, because I do as well. Not that I want to sit here and agree with you all night, Alan, but I've always been a strong believer of him. I think he's had the most awful luck with Amazon filming him this season, with COVID, with injuries, with suspensions, with the AFCON, with Tottenham fans losing their head last week over the North London derby, and they're still doing it. It's absolutely hilarious. I just don't understand. We postponed one match, and as we said, Alan, off air, Premier League accepted it. I just don't understand why it's, as the show says, always Arsenal. But Sophie, thanks so much for your question.
No, I mean, listen, the rules are the rules, aren't they? And Arsenal asked the question. They got so many missing. The Premier League came in, they examined the situation, and they postponed the game. So what's the problem? Arsenal have asked the question. It's the Premier League that's in charge of this whole situation, and I think the rules do need to change, Amanda, in that you take injuries out of the equation and the AFCON and all that, and it's purely COVID. If you've got so many COVID players that can't participate, then yeah, you get the game called off. Somehow injuries and the Africa Cup of Nations got included in that, and that's why the game was postponed, pure and simple. But
Arsenal haven't done anything wrong.
No, not at all. No, not at all.
Okay, we've got another question. The Mr. Arsenal podcast. Could a less hectic February stand us in good stead for the rest of the season?
I read today that we haven't got too many games, have we, over the next?
No, but maybe they'll put some of the postponed ones in there.
Wow, so it's funny, isn't it? Because you get such a hectic Christmas and New Year, and then you get to the FA Cup weekends, and unfortunately we're out the cup, and so you have these 3 weekends, and yeah, maybe you can slip some of these games in. On the plus side, it's a chance to rest the lads and work on shape in training, which I'm sure Arteta would love to do. So many coaches talk about that. They just don't have chance to concentrate on tactics and team shape. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. But it's time to kick on now, isn't it? And hopefully get a good result at the weekend.
Yeah, no, totally true. Let's see what else we've got. I wanted to talk to you about something, actually. Martinelli completely locked down last night. Oh, excuse me. Completely locked down last night, wasn't he, by the Liverpool players? Even Klopp came out and said what a player he's going to be. To me, he looks so exciting, and he's growing every game, isn't he? He's obviously first on the team sheet at the moment. Gives his all. Definitely tracking back where that was a minus of his game last couple of seasons when he was playing. I feel he's giving so much to the team. What do you think about Martinelli?
I thought he was Arsenal's biggest threat last night. Saka was kind of tied up with Robertson. He didn't get much joy out of him. Lacazette had a quiet time, didn't get much service at all. Martinelli, especially in that first 15, he was running at at Trent Alexander-Arnold, causing him problems. He's come back to the fore, hasn't he? I mean, he burst onto the scene, scoring goals, looking a right talent, a right lively customer, and thankfully he's come back again. Where his position will be in the years ahead is another matter. Is he going to be a player on the flank? Is he's going to settle through the middle? I don't know, but he's somebody that I'm sure Arteta will look at and think, yeah, we need him in the team because he can make things happen. He did his very best last night. He kept on going at it, but as I said earlier, Liverpool's defence just stood strong and couldn't create too much.
Okay, yeah. No, that's I brilliant prospects for us, and he's just growing each game. Thanks for all your questions. Got another one from Andy Love. Hi, Amanda and Alan. Alan, what are our chances of signing? I can't say his name. Vlahovic.
Something like that.
Vlahovic. And if we don't get him, who would you like Arsenal to buy as their main striker?
Well, the thing is with Arsenal at the moment, they're in the territory of buying players that aren't like at the top of everybody's wanted list. You look at Tomiyasu and Tavares and Lokonga. These are players you're buying for not astronomical sums, but players that you've looked at carefully and scouted and looked at the figures, the stats. That's the kind of area that Arsenal are in. So don't ask me to come up with a name. I mean, I haven't seen too much of the lad from Fiorentina. He's a tall boy, isn't he? He's kind of a centre forward in the mould you'd think he'd suit the Premier League. You never quite know until they get.
Absolutely.
What is he? 21 years of age, so he fits kind of the bill in terms of young players coming in. Sounds like he cost a lot of money. Whether Arsenal could afford it, whether he might want to go to another club, I don't know. But Arsenal do need a centre forward. I'm sure there's a few clubs will be thinking the same thing in this month and also in the summer. Let's hope that the scouting department, those analysts and what have you, can do the damage and pick somebody, an inspired choice that not everybody's been looking at, or the big guns perhaps aren't throwing money at, and he can do the damage in the way that those boys are doing that came in the summer. It's a difficult one because Lacazette, it looks like he might leave, and Aubameyang, obviously, who knows what's going to happen there. So there's a gaping hole, isn't there? There's a gaping hole.
Oh, there is.
And Nketiah looks like he, at the moment, he's a young lad, but is he going to leave? He doesn't look to me like somebody who can lead the line on his own, because his overall game, in terms of holding it up, the runs he makes, he looks more of a poacher in the box at the moment. Maybe he'll develop as a player as the years go by. But at the moment, I don't see him as somebody that could lead the attack for Arsenal.
No. I think we do need someone, or we need Aubameyang to come back firing, don't we? That's for sure.
Yeah.
Andy Love, thank you so much for your question. So we've got Burnley on Sunday, 2:00 at the Emirates. I don't feel it's going to be a full house. I feel it will be quite a dull, how can I put this? Crowd will be quite dull. That's what I'm trying to say. It's hard out because midfield, they've got to come out. This is it. Every game now, the old cliche, is a cup final for us. We've got nothing else to concentrate on. We just need to make sure that we try and win every single game. Who are you going to put in midfield?
Well, he might go the way that he did last night with Lokonga and Odegaard. Chambers is injured as well, isn't he? He was an option. He played in midfield for Fulham. I wouldn't want to take Ben White out of the back, because I think him and Gabriel have got a good understanding, and I think that's a vital area of the pitch. So keep that combination together. But it's going to be a bit of a mix and match. I don't know what he'll do.
No.
Burnley, they're struggling this season. You're thinking they're going to rally and they're going to do what they've done most seasons and get the points and just get themselves out of trouble. But I don't know. It might be a season that they finally go down. Sold Chris Wood, haven't they? And they're just looking short at the moment. So hopefully Arsenal can bounce back with 3 points and. I think you're right, Amanda. It might be one of those where the players have got to lift the crowd rather than the other way around.
And I do have to say that, Alan, the crowd, including myself, we have been amazing home and away this season, completely behind Arteta, the players, everything. Last night, I didn't really feel that from home. I don't know what it was like there. You were there, but we've had better atmospheres. I don't know, as you said, well, they've certainly got to lift the crowd on Sunday.
Yeah,
because it will be quite.
It was a bit strange, Amanda, last night. I looked at the ground at kickoff, and there were a lot of empty seats, and I think a lot of people came in. It was more or less full after about 20 minutes. Whether there were problems getting in with searching and everything, I don't know. But it was a bit subdued. There weren't many things to get them excited, get them off the seats. But I think that, the Emirates has been a lot livelier. I agree with you. You think of that Man City game and some matches before where they've been much more noisy and, up off the seats and at it, and that helps the players as well to when the fans create that atmosphere. So it was a bit subdued. Maybe they just saw that, I can't see us doing it tonight. They got the feeling, like a lot of us did, that Liverpool were going to kind of just ease past them. But yeah, the players need the fans. They do now in the games from here till summer to do the very best to try and make it into that top four.
So when you were playing for us, let's go back to Highbury days. Did you need the fans to lift you?
Yeah, we did. And when the fans weren't on your side, when you could hear, you just drift towards the side and you can hear some shouts and some moans, and that does affect you to a certain extent. When everybody's behind you, when that noise increases, it just spurs you on. And I think any player would say that. But there's been plenty of games at Highbury where you think, oh God, the fans are on our backs today, and you've got to try and fight your way through it. It's a two-way street, isn't it?
Of course.
Sometimes the players lift the fans and vice versa.
It's like the chicken and the egg. What comes first? Do you lift us or do we lift you? And I do feel Sunday we're going to need to lift the players. I really do. I think they're just as upset as we are. Not to be able to get to a final is such a shame. Okay, so my boss at the Same Old Arsenal podcast has asked, does Alan understand the frustrations some of the fans have about this transfer window, or does he think players will arrive?
Fans having frustration. I don't know what they expect. I think we all know that Arsenal haven't got shed loads of money. They probably produce more money in the summer than we thought that they would, with the 50 million for Ben White and all the other boys. So I don't know how much is in the kitty. So you can be frustrated, but as we all know, January is a difficult month as it is. Quite often, the recruitment team will be planning ahead for the summer more than January. That I can understand that's frustrating for fans, especially in Arsenal's situation, when you think, oh God, we don't half need a striker, we don't half need a midfielder. But the planning that goes into these things, it goes on for months or maybe a year or more. So you can't do things just like that.
And Alan, I don't think fans understand that either. I think they think, right, we've got the money, let's go and buy him. There's a million things that come into it, whether the player wants to come, his family want to live in London. There's so much, the agents. It's not that easy, and we are desperate. We need a striker and a midfielder. We need one of them desperately to come in. And I think we're hoping that some players arrive. Have you heard anything? Can you tell us anything?
The danger is, Amanda, that, desperate and you just go and get somebody and they're not at the level, and then you're paying good money for somebody that's not actually improved the squad or the team. You've seen it happen to so many other clubs in the Premier League, and in the end they've got this bloated squad, massive wage bill, and they're not any better off. And that's where you've got to sit tight and be patient and forget all the noise that's going on around you and say, yeah, you want us to buy him, but he's not good enough. And you've got to have the courage, your convictions, and you've got to take the flak at times. And as fans, they've got to put the trust in who's in charge there. Simple as that.
Absolutely. And it's hard because I understand exactly what you're saying, but we do need some players, and it has got to that stage where, fans are, and myself, we judge him in May, as they say. I've said that I want to give him the whole season, but again, still COVID and the AFCON and injuries and everything like that. Anyway, let's see what else we've got. Oh, someone's just asked a question. Alan speaks fluent Russian, I believe. Is that true?
No. It's funny when that rumour came about. I don't know if it's when I first joined Arsenal. I did a degree in modern languages in like French and German and Spanish, a degree that I didn't finish because I joined Leicester. But Russian, I heard it mentioned many times, and I didn't kind of bat it away because I thought, if people want to think I speak fluent Russian, let them think it. But I could hardly speak a word. So, no,
I was reading that thinking, wow, that's
yeah.
fantastic.
Why?
But no.
I learned that. Yeah.
Right, let's ask Irish Mick. Does Alan think it's the strikers who are to blame for our lack of goals or the style of play Arteta wants to play?
I was looking through the stats the other day before the game last night, and I mean, Arsenal's home record has been excellent, hasn't it? Only lost to Man City, I think, over the last good few months. But I mean, strikers get you goals, don't they? Not
Yeah.
just with the goals, but with the movement they make, taking defenders out of position, and the whole Aubameyang situation has obviously had an effect. I think we have got good creativity with Odegaard and Smith Rowe and Saka. There's a lot of clubs that would love that kind of creativity in that area just behind the striker. So I don't think it's that. It's just having that focal point now, somebody that's on top of the game and who's got that relationship with the lads just behind. In the way that Aubameyang didn't he, when he was flying? Whether he can get that back or not is another matter. Let's hope he can. But I don't think there's a lack of creativity in the team.
No, there isn't. And I said last night, we just need someone to put the ball in the back of the net. That is it. Okay, so Mr. Stark, does top four hinge on signings in January? We're going to come off signings because I don't like talking about transfers. Anyone that knows me, I don't do transfer shows. But this will be the last question on it. Get your questions in. Anything for Alan Smudger Smith, apart from transfers?
Well, I mean, I don't know if it hinges on if you could get a couple of top players in, that might make the difference, mightn't it?
Mm.
Look at Man United now, and they're beginning just to gain ground under Ralph Rangnick, and they're getting to know his methods. They've got so much talent there, haven't they? I mean, the money they've spent is ridiculous. Spurs never quite know what's going to happen with them. But he's a top manager, Conte. There's no doubt about that. So they're going to be a rival for that fourth place, and West Ham as well. So it's going to be tough. It really is. But
do you think we'll do it or not?
I said that 10 days ago that I thought we would. It changes, doesn't it? I don't know. I think it's going to be very tight. So much depends on injuries and that. If we. I think when we've got our first 11, there's a really good understanding there. I think that would have a chance of getting the top four. But I don't know, with Man United, with the players that they've got, I think it's going to be tough. And unfortunately, I've got a feeling that they might nick it.
Yeah, Spurs. Yeah. Okay, so Robert Stevens said, see, my issue is they knew you'd be short due to AFCON. So start your interest before the market opens. Talk to agents, players, so on. The only thing I will say about that is, Robert, we don't know they haven't. That's the thing. No one knows what goes on behind the scenes. I mean, Alan, do you understand what I mean by that? Because fans just think, thank you for your question, Robert, as well. But fans just think with 100 million, go out and buy someone. As I said, it doesn't work like that, does it?
It doesn't, no, because those players are going to return, aren't they? And then you've signed some players that aren't going to get in the team, and you've got a dressing room then that might not be the happiest, and players moaning, and one bad apple, it can spread. These are things you've got to think about as a coach and as the recruitment team, the club as a whole. You can't go for short-termism. Oh, these lads are going to play for 3 or 4 weeks, so let's get somebody in to replace. We know how much players get paid these days. You can't be signing somebody on a 4-year contract on 150 grand a week. If once these lads come back from Africa, they're going to supplant them. So yeah, it's a difficult one. Look at Liverpool without Mane and Salah. They've tried to go in another direction and put players in there, and they're managing to do it. And that's probably what you have to do.
They've got a much better squad than us. We've got such a thin squad at the moment, haven't we? But yeah. Okay, let's see what else we got. Okay. Hi, Amanda and Alan. What do you think of Ollie Watkins and Rafinha?
Well, I like them both. I cannot see Steven Gerrard letting Ollie Watkins go from Aston Villa. Why would he? This is a club, Villa, that's trying to go places. They've got good investment. He's obviously a very ambitious manager, and he'll want to keep his best players. And Watkins is one of those. He's got a great work ethic. I love seeing him play, whether it's from the left or through the middle. Always gives 100%. Good finisher as well. Rafinha is another one. I mean, I think Leeds will find it hard to keep hold of him in the summer. He's got the look of a top 4 player, a really talented lad. Leeds did ever so well to get him for the money that they got him for. So, listen, if Arsenal could get in the market for somebody like that, brilliant. But it is a central striker more than anything, and one of those lads from the side that the team needs.
Yeah, no, I agree. Thanks, Gary, for your question. No. Should Amanda discuss transfers more often? No, it's really not my thing. When they sign, I'll talk about them a whole show, but not until then. I just want to go back a little bit, Al, just to talk about you and your history for the younger people that are on this show tonight. Your favourite goal ever? And I'm not sure I've ever asked you this.
Yeah, it's difficult. I'd have to say my header at Anfield, really, because it was probably one of the least spectacular, but it was the most important. I didn't get too many ultra spectacular ones. I do like the one against Norwich when we came back from the break after Hillsborough. That set us up again. Well, it was from John Lukic's long kick, and I've kind of chested it down and swiveled. I do like that. And of course, the Cup Winners' Cup goal against Palmer,
yeah,
which was vital for the team that night. But the Anfield one, it was just so important for us to get that first goal and give us a bit of hope that we could get the second. So that will always be my favourite.
What a lot of you don't know is that every time I see Alan, this is true, I say, "Did you touch it?" I say it every time. He must be so bored of me over the years doing this. But Alan, I interviewed Alan off the cuff many years ago on it was AFTV, wasn't it? It was just a night about 5, 6, 7 years ago. It was 20. It was 20 minutes or 25 minutes of me asking questions to Alan about the minute of the day started from minute 1 to the end of the day over the weekend and, the week after. And it was just fascinating. And honestly, it's one of my proudest moments.
It's amazing it was that long ago. I can't believe it.
Yeah, it was. It's got to be over 6, 7 years ago. It was just incredible. It wasn't even planned. I would have done it if it was planned, but I was handed the mic, go and talk to Alan about 89. No, I said no, I'm not doing it. And you're like, yeah, come on, let's chat. I'm like, okay. But for people that have only recently followed me, I was at Anfield 89. I was not going to mention this tonight, but Andy Love has asked you a question. Alan, do you keep in touch with any of the 89 squad or any working with the club in some capacity?
Well, funnily enough, I was in the press room last night and saw Jimmy Carter across the room. So I went over to talk to Jim. I hadn't spoken to him for a while. He was doing a bit for Merseyside radio. Obviously, he played for Liverpool.
Yeah.
But he is a Gooner. He was born up in Drayton Park, I think, and he went to the school there. But Grovesy was there as well. Perry Groves was there. So I see some of the boys. I see Lee Dixon quite often when he's working for NBC and that. Righty occasionally, Martin Keown occasionally. There's a Ray Parler as well. I saw Ray not too long ago. So I know Ray wasn't at Anfield 89, but I see a fair few because so many of the lads work in the media, which is nice. I do think we should organise kind of get-togethers and maybe dinners for charity and that more than we do. some other clubs do it. Liverpool do loads of it, and it just needs somebody to kind of organise it. But it's always great to see the old teammates, because there's that bond that never breaks. See Merce as well. See Paul Merson. So yeah, always good to see the lads.
Absolutely. Barry Burns got a question for you. Would you like to play in today's era of football as a lone striker?
I preferred playing with a sidekick. I could play as a lone striker. I did it in Europe under George for the Cup Winners' Cup, when he played 4-3-3 instead of the 4-4-2 on a Saturday in the league. It's hard work playing through the middle on your own, and you have to adjust your game a little bit. And those lads from on the outside, to come in and support, the likes of Merce and Wrighty, Kev Campbell. We did that really well in Europe. Would I like to play in that role today? I don't think it would suit me as much as to have somebody next to me and feeding off me in the way that Merce did and that Leicester, Gary Lineker did. I think I'm better in that kind of situation.
Okay. Right, Melvin Marks has got a question for you. Was it strange playing for Leicester against Arsenal when you'd already signed for us?
Yeah, it was. It was one of the weirdest nights, or sorry, not nights. It was an afternoon game. One of the weirdest days of my life, really. I didn't want to play. I tried to get out of it because I was an Arsenal player. It was so awkward. But Leicester were fighting against relegation, and that's why I'd gone back on loan to help them out. It was a one-way contest, really. What did it end up? 4-0, 4-1. I nearly scored at the North Bank, and Reece Wilmot was in goal that day. And
oh, wow. I remember Reece, yeah.
Yeah, he saved one point blank from a header of mine. But at the end, I couldn't wait to get off the pitch and get it over with. It was so awkward. Yeah, that was... because, of course, all the Arsenal fans are looking at you thinking, oh, who's this we've signed then? What's he got? And they're hoping to see something quite special. And it's not easy when you're under the cosh, as we were that day. I think Charlie Nicholas got maybe a couple of goals, and we were never in it.
I don't remember this. So when was this out? What year?
So it was 87.
Right, okay.
I signed for Arsenal in March 87 and then went back on loan to Leicester. And it so happened that we had Arsenal away in the remaining...
That's mad.
So, yeah, I don't think you can do it now. I think they've taken the loophole out. But, yeah, it was a strange one.
Okay, Lee Boy wants to ask, Amanda, can you ask Alan if he thought his only ever yellow card in the cup final was unfair?
Yeah.
Is that your only ever yellow card?
Shocking, yeah, it was. I remember I went into a tussle in the middle of the park with Graham Hyde. He was a little midfielder for Sheffield Wednesday, and we both ended up on the deck. And as I'm getting up, I've just knocked the ball away with my hand just to give myself time to get into position behind the ball. And he's booked me for it. And you get the letter through from the FA to say why, and it was like ungentlemanly conduct, delaying the taking of a free kick, and that. I thought, oh God. I did get booked for Leicester once, and it never came through because you always get a letter in the post. So I don't know if the ref thought, oh, I won't bother. I got booked just once, which is incredible. I'd never manage it now because you know what it's like. You're a fraction of a second late. Say if you're scampering over to stop the fullback from clearing it, and then he follows through onto your boot, and as they do now, they go, yeah. You've not fouled him. He's just followed through onto your boot, and you get booked for it. So, and also when I used to jump and I'd go like that, and I'd catch the centre half just there accidentally, I'd probably get sent off for that now. But back then, you could get away with it. So I
can't believe you've only got one yellow card in your whole career for
I didn't used to argue with a ref. I didn't make too many tackles, and you could get away with more then.
Yeah.
And it's a shame that it has gone the other way. It's so easy to pick up a booking now. So easy.
I mean, literally, they could fall over your legs and you get booked for it. But yeah. Okay, so Bill Hemmett Question for Alan. In the 92-93 season, he got injured and righty KC played so well and kept him out of the team. Did he resent the strikers when the team were playing so well? # Graham Ball.
Well, I didn't resent them. No, I was just gutted that I'd lost my form, really, and it was a miserable time in my career. You know, most players would say they go through a spell where they're not enjoying the football, and that was a spell for me. It's you know, as opposed to the first 4 or 5 years at Arsenal where I was getting lots of goals. The goals dried up, and yeah, Kev was coming through, and then he formed a good relationship with Righty, and yeah, I was kind of in and out. So that was hard to take after being a regular, winning a couple of titles and a couple of golden boots. I don't look back on that time all that fondly. Thankfully, the Cup Winners' Cup came in the middle of all that. But yeah, it's just one of those things. When you get your chance, you have to make sure you contribute, even if you're not scoring. You have to do something for the team, and I tried to do that.
Yeah, tough time, isn't it? When you lose your form and another player comes in and you're trying to get your form back, and yeah, not easy. Okay, so West Midgooner. Question, Alan, who was the toughest defender that you came up against? Apart from Tony, of course.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, you know, in training, when we were up against the back four and it was Tony and Baldy, I mean, it was a nightmare.
I can imagine.
They were so quick at just nipping in front of you. You know, we think about Tony especially as like dominant in the air and a good tackler, and Baldy as well. But they anticipated stuff so quickly, and if you didn't watch it, they'd just nick in front of you and take the ball away. Alan Hansen was brilliant at that. You know, for Liverpool, he wasn't a physical player, somebody that was going to kick you or dominate you physically, but he anticipated so well. So you always had to be on your game against him. Like physically, people like Mick McCarthy, who played for a few. Graham Roberts at Spurs.
Oh my God, I remember him. Hard as nails.
He'd kick you. He was an honest player. He wouldn't be snidey. He'd kick you in full view of the ref. I played against Germany for England, and they had a couple of centre halves that had marked Maradona out the game the year before in the 1990 World Cup final. I didn't get a kick there. They were so good. Gary Pallister as well for Man United. Very underrated. He was like tall like me, long legs, good in the air. I kind of couldn't get anything over him quite often. So I didn't enjoy playing against Pally, I've got to admit.
Who was the easiest then? Who did you look forward to playing against?
Oh, I don't know really. I suppose it's only at the end of the game that you think that. There's never a play you think, oh well, he's no good. I'm gonna do well today. I suppose you always have teams where you have a good record against, but I wouldn't say anybody came to mind that you think was a pushover.
Okay, so Danny the GFP said Hayes got 2, Davies and Nicholas. Is he talking about that game against Leicester?
I think he might be, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I know Hayes, he got 2, yeah. Because Martin Hayes, he had a really good season the year before I arrived. I think he got about 21 goals. He took the penalties as well, but he couldn't quite sustain it. And then he became a sub, really. He was just from the bench. He used to play when I arrived.
Oh, brilliant. Thanks, Danny. I love all your, can see all your comments. Demsek said, Smudger, what game went so wrong you just couldn't believe it? Oh, my God, we could be here all day.
Oh, well, I think the semi-final against Spurs was one of those games. We're lining up in the tunnel in 1991 against Spurs, and they're really pumped up. And Gaza, poor Gascoigne, he's chuntering away to himself, and we're thinking, what's wrong with them over there? You know, they'd heard a story we got fitted up for our FA Cup final suits, which was
my God.
Oh,
right, okay. Yeah.
Before the semi-final, so they got themselves fired up, Gaza particularly, and they came out, stormed out the traps, and they were just first at every ball, and we were second best, and it was such a disappointment to lose to Spurs for the obvious reason, but also because we could have done the double that year. You know, we ended up winning the title pretty comfortably, but we we didn't really perform against Spurs on the day, and then we got our revenge, didn't we, a couple of years later. But yeah, that was a shame that day at Wembley, that semi-final.
I actually cried. So I did. I actually cried. I was, 20, don't know what I was, 22, whatever. I remember when Gazza took that free kick. It was right in front of me, and I watched Seaman, and I literally, I've never cried at a match. I've welled up at a couple before, but I literally had tears, and I couldn't speak. And then, obviously, we did get our payback. Donkey won the derby, obviously, and stuff. But honestly, as Arsenal fans, we have been through it, Al, honestly.
Well, Dave Seaman, he wasn't feeling too great. He apologised at half time that his studs got caught in the turf when he's trying to take off.
Oh, really?
Gazza's free kick, I remember it whistling past my ear. It was a hell of a strike, but you wouldn't have expected Dave Seaman, who had a magnificent campaign that year, only conceded 18 goals in the league, I think. For him to get beaten at that distance, you just wouldn't have expected it.
No, absolutely not Seaman. Okay, another question. Who is the best commentator and pundit you've worked with? Nigel Plum wants to know.
Well, all my commentators at Sky, I enjoy working with them. They're all different. You get to know their little quirks, when they're going to stop talking and, when it's time for you to come in. I'm not going to say I've got a favourite. Martin Tyler is obviously our number one commentator still. And you look at highlights from 1976 and Martin is commentating on them. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
So long. He's such a professional. He's as devoted to it now. He has that passion for it now that he's ever had, and that's what's kept him going. But our others are Bill Leslie, Rob Hawthorne, Seb Hutchinson's come into it as well. I commentated with Gary Weaver last night, who mainly does the championship and that, and they're all different. We've got some great pundits. I think we do set the standards for that. Obviously, Gary Neville and Jamie Carragher. Even before that, Andy Gray. We did things in a way that hadn't been done before, and I suppose that's because Sky has got the time to do it and go into detail. But we've been lucky from that point of view. I think people look at pundits and commentators more now, don't they? And kind of criticise them or pick their performances apart in a way that they didn't used to do.
No, it's such a different world now. I saw a tweet on Twitter today saying, if you're moaning now, you should have seen us back in the 80s, early 80s. Something like, it's cyclical. We'll get past this. You're not going to win every game, blah, blah, blah. And I did. I quote tweeted it and said, it's generational. I remember sitting early 80s with my feet over the front of the chair in the East Stand Upper at Highbury and doing the slow hand clap. This was way before you were there, Alan. Obviously, I'd never do that if you were there. And just it was Terry Neal, Don Howe, those eras. It wasn't good. It really wasn't good. It wasn't good for me until George got there and changed everything. But nowadays, if you don't win every game, it's just a meltdown. But social media doesn't help that. We didn't have social media then. We went home in the car. We all moaned. And we got home. And you either went out that Saturday night, because mainly all the games were on Saturday nights, and you'd meet up with people and you'd moan. It's like a social media in a pub. But you never had that.
No.
Alan, I don't know if I've ever told you this story, but the week before 89, I think we played Wimbledon or Derby. I never know which one it is where we drew. I think it was Derby 2-2. And I remember
we drew with Wimbledon, lost to Derby.
Right, it was lost to Derby then. I remember going on Capital Gold, I think it was then, which is like TalkSport, and not as big as TalkSport, but it was like that. And I remember ringing them up, going, "If you think we're going to win at Anfield," oh, no word of a lie. And I think my rant actually won a crate of lager. I can't remember because I didn't drink, so I didn't pick it up. But I remember thinking, I just went, "You're mental." And I was a stroppy teenager. I was, 18? Yeah, 18, 19, just before Anfield. We're never going to go to Anfield and do it. We've just lost the derby. I was fuming with you lot. I was like, how can you lose the derby?
Yeah, we were fuming with ourselves, honestly. Yeah, the wheels came off, didn't they? But I mean, you're right about social media and that. But it's also important to remember, say you've got 60,000 in the Emirates, what percentage is on social media? I don't know. I mean, the percentage of the population is about 5% on Twitter, something like minuscule. So it's easy to get carried away with what people say on social media, because a lot of people still go to the game and go home.
Oh, yeah, exactly.
Have them home. It's not everybody's on there.
No.
So it's easy to think, oh, that is the upheld opinion. You know, that's what everyone thinks, what they're saying on Twitter, whatever. It's not. But different world.
It is a total different world. I go with my cousin who was at Anfield with me and has gone from the year dot. He's not even on social media. He's not even got Facebook. He's not interested. You know, we'll walk to the game like it's the old days, going to Highbury, and he meets people that I know from social media. He's not interested. Goes home, we sit in the car, we get back to Essex, we moan the whole way, or we're praising everyone the whole way, and we get on with our life. Yeah, I enjoy social media, but I'm not one of those that loses my absolute rag. I think I'm too old for all that. You know, I just feel it's different. Football is so different now. It's not as good as the 80s and the 90s, I'm afraid. Young people on this in this chat room, it really isn't. You don't know what you miss with George Graham. And we did have up and down times. If anyone was at the final in 1988 against Luton, I wanted to throw everybody out of the bus. But then if you was at Anfield in 89, I wanted to be in the bus with everybody. So football is up and down. You're not going to win every game, and it's been hard. You know, I'm not going to rant to everybody. I am a very can't think of the word, in support of Arteta. That's it. I am a big supporter of Arteta.
Yeah.
I think if he's given time and we get over these blips, you know, it's not. I think it could work, but is whether he gets the time or not now.
The thing is, you look at Man City, the billions they've pumped into it, and Chelsea as well, and it's easy to think, oh, well, we're lagging behind these teams. But, money talks, doesn't it?
Yeah.
How do you compete with that? Liverpool have been slightly different. You've got to admire what Jurgen Klopp's done there and their team ethic. They've been sensational, but more often than not, the amount of money you spend equates to where you finish in the table. And, you know, Arsenal aren't in that ball game at the moment.
No, we're not. And I think that's what fans need to understand. It really do. We've got I can't read your name. I'm so sorry. Odehagen Fitzsimmons. He's got a little cheeky question for you, Al. Could we ask Sir Alan, does he feel he's harder on Arsenal because he's one of us? It doesn't stop the United lads. Great listen, always a favourite of mine. There is this misconception, Al, that you're tougher on Arsenal than you are other clubs.
What does he mean when he says it doesn't stop the United lads?
Right, so you've got Gary Neville, you know, he's praising, and you've got Carragher with Liverpool. Well, not praising. Not at the moment.
I've heard him being very critical. I am aware of the stick I do get in some parts of social media for it. But do you know what? I have to say it how I see it, and I'm not there banging the drum for Arsenal, even though I played for them. As much as I want them to do well, I have to represent both sides, and fans will never think the same as me. Fans see it all through that lens of supporting Arsenal. I can't do that. I'm working for Sky. I'm working for both sides, so I make no apologies for that. I have to try and be fair, and that will come across as, oh, he played for Arsenal. Why isn't he, supporting us more? It doesn't work like that. Sorry.
I'm not just saying this because we're friends or anything, but I don't see that of you. I see that more with Jamie Carragher with Liverpool, if I'm honest. Gary Neville, I agree. He does give United a hard time, quite a hard time. He didn't at the beginning, but he does now. And I agree. You're there to for both sides. Otherwise, how can you commentate? It's not fair on the other team, is it? If you constantly praising Arsenal. But thank you for your question. And I'm so sorry I got your name wrong. I do feel like that. Alan, it's been an amazing hour. It's been fantastic. I'm just so pleased. I'm just going to get a couple more questions in because everyone wants to ask you. Right. Let's have a look. Andy Abraham. Hi, Andy. Smudge, thanks for the memories, mate, and every goal you scored. Because of you and Mickey Thomas in '89, I helped trash my best friend's house with his dad, then down to Highbury to celebrate. You know what? I think, Al, if you wouldn't mind coming back in May and talking just about that game to the people that were there, like me, the people that weren't there, and the people that didn't grow up with it. As you can see, that it's a wonderful memory, and it's incredible, but I'm not going to go on about it. Thanks, Andy, for your
it would have
comment.
been nice. It would have been nice to have gone to Highbury after the game instead of. I mean, listen, we went to Southgate Winners and had a party there, but to see the fans outside Highbury, that would have been amazing. You know, you've seen I've seen news footage of it. You know, seen the film Fever Pitch and all that. It looked amazing, but. Yeah, it was. People never stopped talking about that game. So I mean, it's just brilliant. You don't get tired of it. It was one of those moments in English football that will never be forgotten. So to be part of that, you know, it's a great honour.
It is. Thanks, Andy, for your question. Right, I'm going to do one last one and let you go. Right, the Visionites. Alan, just wanted to ask, how much does a manager's tactics matter in your opinion? What percentage of a team's success would you put down to the players versus the manager? Cheers and thanks for the show. Thank you.
I would say the players depend on the managers more than maybe we used to. I was looking across to the sideline. Do we need to change tactics? I think perhaps in my era, the players would work it out for themselves, and maybe the captain would change something, or we'd realise things needed to change. I think perhaps players are more dependent on the coaching staff than they used to be. You know, tactics are important, but sometimes it's just all about, can you get the better of your opponent? Can you win that second ball? Can you fight harder? It's not all. We do talk about tactics a lot these days, but you know, more often than not, it's who wants it more, who fights for that ball more, and you know, I don't think it'll ever change in football. There's some very clever tactics these days. Pep Guardiola, you know, he's amongst them, has been very clever and innovative. But yeah, football never changes from that point of view. And any manager will say you've got to have the right attitude as a player.
If you're okay for a couple more questions, because some are really, really good. This one's good. Evening, fellas. A question for Smudge. What do you think of the standard of refereeing?
I think VAR has confused them a little bit, and they're kind of second guessing themselves sometimes, and it's all become a bit of a mishmash. You know, we hear the VAR ref at Stockley Park in our headphones if he wants to talk. Sometimes they're a bit silent. They were a bit quiet last night, but I don't know. I think it puts refs on the back foot sometimes, especially if somebody's in VAR who's a senior ref to them, and they think, or vice versa. You know, because Mike Dean is one of the kind of top refs that a lot of the other officials look up to, and they wouldn't want to contradict what he said. So yeah, I think sometimes they tie themselves in knots. I don't want to have a go at refs too much. I never have done. They go out there honestly trying to do their best, but sometimes, I mean, there's so much pressure on them, isn't there? But
yeah, VAR
can get them out of a hole and, you know, right the wrongs. There's fewer injustices now, but I think it also has confused them a little bit as well.
I totally agree. Nigel, it's been a brilliant show tonight with Smudge. What a legend. You're absolutely brilliant, Amanda, to get him on tonight. I really am, and I want to say thank you. Alan, it's just been, we could talk all night, and I've taken an hour of your time up. Thank you so much for joining me.
All right, man. I've got a margarita waiting for me back
I
there.
know. Was that the fourth margarita?
I held back on the third, yeah, I know.
I just want to say thank you for all your questions and comments. And I'm sorry I couldn't get all your questions in. I will ask Alan if he'll come back again, and maybe we'll talk a bit more about 89, because it does seem like a lot of you want to talk about that. Thank you so much to everybody for your support. This is show number 2. We're over and out, and always Arsenal.